All right, so let's talk about something we all have but rarely ever see, your home's plumbing. It's this whole hidden world, right? A super complex network of pipes behind the walls, under the floors, keeping everything running smoothly. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on that world. We'll get into what makes it all tick, and more importantly, what to do when it starts acting up.
So, what's that sound keeping you up at night? Come on, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That drip, drip, drip that just won't stop. Or maybe it's the toilet that kind of gurgles for no reason, or those pipes that start humming a weird tune right when you're about to doze off. Look, those aren't just your house settling. A lot of the time, they're the first little whispers that something bigger is going on.
And those sounds are just the start, right? I bet some of these other warning signs look pretty familiar. A dripping faucet, a gurgling toilet, maybe your water bill suddenly shot through the roof, or that sink that takes forever to drain, water stains, weird smells. All of these are basically your plumbing system sending out an SOS. They're classic distress signals telling you, hey, something over here needs attention.
So, when your plumbing starts to rebel like this, you gotta ask why. What makes a system that was working just fine suddenly go rogue? Well, as we're about to see, these problems are almost never random. They're usually symptoms of much bigger, hidden forces at play. And that brings us to your home's hidden enemies. I mean, your plumbing is basically in a constant battle with a whole set of adversaries. This is especially true in really harsh environments, like a desert climate. So let's take a look at these constant, and usually invisible, threats that are lurking around your home. Okay, first up, hard water buildup. The best way to think about this is like cholesterol for your pipes. Seriously, if you live somewhere with mineral-heavy water, all that calcium and lime leaves deposits behind. And over the years, that scale just builds up, literally choking your pipes. It narrows the flow, clogs up your fixtures, and it can absolutely destroy expensive appliances like your water heater or your dishwasher. All right, here's one you might not think about. Slab leaks. You know, the very foundation your house sits on, it can actually be a threat. The soil underneath it is always shifting and settling, especially after a big rain. All that movement puts a ton of stress on the water lines running under that concrete slab, and eventually, they can crack. This creates these totally hidden leaks. I mean, you can't see them at all, but they're wasting thousands of gallons of water and could even be damaging the structure of your house. And it's not just the ground. Nature itself gets in on the action with sewer line blockages. Think about it. Tree roots are absolutely relentless when they're looking for water. And what's a perfect source? Your sewer line. So roots, especially from tough desert trees like mesquite and palo verde, will literally invade the pipes. They sneak into these tiny little joints and then just grow into these massive, tangled blockages. And that, well, that can lead to a really, really nasty backup inside your house. So a big part of the story here is the pipes themselves. The materials have changed so much over the years. You've got the old versus the modern. A lot of older homes, especially mobile home parks, have these old galvanized pipes. And they're a problem because they literally rust from the inside out, which restricts water flow and puts flakes of rust into your water. Yuck. But now we have modern PEX pipes. This stuff is a total game changer. It's a flexible plastic that resists all that mineral buildup from hard water. And because it's flexible, it can handle the ground shifting a little without cracking. It's cheaper to install, it's more durable. It's not just a little better, it is a way smarter investment for the long haul. Okay, so we've met the enemies, right? Now let's map out the battlefield. Because your home's plumbing isn't just one big jumble of pipes. It's actually 3 totally separate systems, and each one has a very specific job to do. So let's break it down. First, you've got your potable water system. That's the easy one. It brings all the clean, fresh water into your house for drinking, cooking, all that good stuff. The big problem here is usually low pressure from mineral buildup or hidden leaks. Then you have the sanitary drainage system. Its job is to take all the wastewater out from your sinks, toilets, showers. And its main enemy? Clogs. You know, from hair, grease, stuff that shouldn't be there. And finally, there's the stormwater drainage system. This one's job is to handle all the rainwater from your roof so your house doesn't flood. As you can imagine, its biggest challenge is just getting overwhelmed during a huge downpour or a monsoon. Okay, so now we understand the problems, but what happens when you actually have one and you need to call in a pro? This part shouldn't be a big mystery. Any good plumber has a clear, logical playbook they follow. And here's what that playbook looks like. It's a clear 3-step process. Step 1 is the assessment. They show up and they figure out the real root cause of the problem, not just slap a bandage on the symptom. Then, for step 2, once you've seen and approved a written estimate, they actually do the repair work. And then, and this part is so important, Step 3 is testing and warranty. They don't just pack up and leave. They test everything to make sure the problem is actually solved, and they back it up with a warranty. That's how you get real peace of mind. Which brings us to what might be the most important part of this whole thing: how to hire a plumber. Seriously, this is about empowering you, because knowing how to spot a great plumber, and maybe more importantly, how to avoid a bad one, is a skill that will save you so much money and so much stress down the road.
So, how do you spot a good plumber from a bad one? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? When your basement is flooding and you're in a panic, how do you make sure you're calling the right person? Well, it really boils down to knowing the green flags to look for and the big flashing red flags to run away from. So let's talk green flags. These are the signs of a good plumber. First, they're transparent. They'll give you their license number and want you to check it. They will always give you a written, itemized estimate before they lift a single tool. Check their reviews online too. A great pro will also patiently answer your questions. They'll actually teach you about what's going on, and they'll explain different options at different price points, not just push the most expensive one. Now for the red flags. These are the signs that you need to hang up the phone or show them the door. If they're using high-pressure sales tactics, trying to scare you into a quick decision, that's a bad sign. If they demand a huge cash payment up front, big red flag. If they give you a super vague estimate without really diagnosing the problem, or they claim your entire system is shot without any proof, be very, very skeptical. And finally, if they start adding unexpected charges to the bill at the end, that's not how a pro operates. Seriously, trust your gut. It is always okay to say no and get a second opinion. So, we'll leave you with this one last thought. Now that you know the warning signs, what causes them, and how to find the right help, what's the one plumbing issue in your home that you've been kind of ignoring? What's that little drip or that slow drain trying to tell you?